Greetings GameLeapers, Coach Eagz here, and I'm very excited to bring you our ultimate Jin guide. Abilities, mechanics, tips and tricks, runes, build, skill order, everything is in here, and by the end of this video you guys will know how to master the Virtuoso. Jin is one of the most popular AD carries in every elo, so even if you don't play Jin, it's a great idea to learn his ins and outs so you beat him in your solo queue games. Remember to help a video out and leave a like, we really appreciate it. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our daily uploads, and check out GameLeap.com, the premier site for League of Legends learning. Videos, courses, guides, hundreds of them, made by challenger players and coaches to help you reach your potential. Alright, let's get into it. Jin is a very unique ADC and his mechanics are unlike any other. Let's start by talking about how his auto attacks work and his passive, Whisper. Jin's auto attacks come in rounds of 4, after which he reloads for 2.5 seconds. He can still move but obviously can't auto attack. Note that Jin will reload leftover rounds after 10 seconds out of combat. Jin's 4th round critically strikes and deals more damage the lower the target is, which also works on towers but to a lesser effect. On top of that, critical strikes grant him at least 10% bonus movement speed for 2 seconds. It's important to note that Jin's attack speed cannot be modified via items, so your speed at which you auto attack changes only via levels. Jin does not benefit, however, from critical strike in the same way that most AD carries traditionally do. His basic attacks can still critically strike, but at a lower multiplier than other AD carries. The trade-off is that Jin gains a scaling percentage of attack damage per level, which is increased by both his critical strike chance and bonus attack speed. This is very important, and this means that although critical strike is inherently weaker on Jin, the benefits that he receives unique to his skill set more than compensate for this. What this also means is that Jin has a very linear itemization, as items that give both critical strike and attack speed are must-haves for the Virtuoso. Another fun fact is that Jin's attack speed cannot be lowered by items and spells. Warden's Mail and Malphite's Ground Slam, for example. They do, however, reduce Jin's bonus attack speed, which, as we know, translates to attack damage, so these items and spells indirectly lower Jin's bonus AD. The key to mastering Jin is to manage his ammunition count effectively. Charging into fights while caught in the reload animation will see you spam with missing pings from your team as you hit the deck. Keeping your distance and ensuring that you are in a safe position when reloading is important AF when mastering Jin. A quick tip to apply to your gameplay is to use the downtime of reloading to focus more so on your surroundings. There is no point in focusing on attacking when you physically can't, right? Take in the position of everyone in the team fight, the key targets, the spells that have been used, what spells are coming your way, and what your game plan is once all 4 bullets have been reloaded. Spending the 2.5 seconds of reloading to assess the situation could be the determining factor in winning the team fight. An additional tip lies in his 4th bullet. As this bullet always critically strikes and deals devastating damage, the mere act of holding the 4th shot is a threat in itself, and this is especially potent in lane. Knowing that the 4th shot is lethal, enemies will become more wary of the looming threat and are forced to respect you. They might give up CS, Golden XP, just to avoid copying your 4th shot. On the inverse, enemies with a keen eye are able to capitalize on your weakness the instant you release your 4th shot because you're reloading. A good Alistar player, for example, will know he has a window of opportunity and can ruin your day, so be careful. Make sure to apply both tips to your gameplay, guys, so you can carry harder and feed less. Next up, we have Jin's abilities, and we'll be giving you some tips and tricks when using them throughout, so make sure you are listening. Dancing Grenade. Jin's Q launches a grenade that deals physical damage to the targeted enemy. It then bounces to up to 3 other enemies in the vicinity, dealing additional damage to subsequent targets if it kills an enemy target. One tip you can apply is to use this ability on the caster minions of a minion wave with the intention of it bouncing to the enemy laner. You can take this a step further and weaken the wave so that the grenade will kill the minions and potentially bounce to a nearby laner for insane damage. It's very hard to do against good players because they will stand away from their minions, but in lower levels of play this will be very achievable. Jin's W, Deadly Flourish, fires a linear shot that deals physical damage to all enemies in that line until it hits an enemy champion. It deals less damage to non-champions. It has a short cast time and has a flat 3000 range, which is huge. The power of this ability is the route that is applied to an enemy champion that has been marked, and there are 3 ways an enemy champion can be marked. They have been damaged previously by Jin, they have been damaged by an allied champion, or they have crossed over a Lotus Trap, which is Jin Z, and we'll get into that very soon. It's important to know that enemies are marked for 4 seconds, so if you W 5 seconds after a mark has been applied, they will not get rooted. As a result of this effect, Jin synergizes well with champions that can poke and harass from afar, and champions that can pack heavy crowd control such as Leona and Nautilus, as these champions ensure Jin's W to land. Hitting a mobile enemy champion is difficult, so timing your deadly flourish with a form of CC is the most efficient way to use it. Let's go over a few minor details of Jin's W. The duration of the root lasts for 1 to 2 seconds depending on rank of the ability. Rooting an enemy champion grants Jin the same bonus movement speed he receives from critically striking an enemy, which is at least 10%, so you can gap close to that rooted target. Jin's E is Captive Audience. Jin arms a Lotus Trap that stealths and arms after 1 second, lasting up to 180 seconds, 3 minutes. When an enemy walks over the trap, it will slow the target and then detonate after 2 seconds, dealing magic damage. Similar to his Q, Dancing Grenade, this ability is fairly straightforward and is used in a similar fashion to Teemo's Noxious Trap or Shaco's Jack in the Box. This ability is generally used for the following reasons. Vision. As this ability provides a small field of vision underneath it, it can be used to scout enemy positions and deter ganks before they start. As the ability also reveals stealth units, it is helpful in detecting stealth-based champions such as Evelynn, Kha'Zix, or Shaco. Placing it in key areas or choke points is a great tactic, especially useful around barons and dragons. As the trap marks the target for the purposes of deadly flourish, Jin can follow up the detonation of the trap with his W to root the target. This is made easier by the slower Lotus Trap provides, and will combo with the detonation of the trap itself for more damage. As Jin does not possess any significant self-peel, aside from his movement speed, Jin's Lotus Traps are the only other form of defense he has, so using them to protect yourself from potential threats is crucial. Finally, Jin can store up to 2 charges of this ability, and kills or assists on enemy champions will trigger a free Lotus Trap to begin its detonation sequence below their body. Jin's ultimate is Curtain Call. One of the more iconic and flashy ultimates of the game, Curtain Call is a fan favorite. Jin channels for 1 second, gaining a wider field of view with 3,500 range, and can fire 4 long-range shots in quick succession that will damage the first enemy champion that is struck. Each shot provides true sight of the target for 2 seconds, slows for 80% for half a second, and deals physical damage that is increased by the target's missing health. The 4th and final shot, remember that number 4, will critically strike for additional damage and end the channel. There is a lot that goes into this ability, so let's break it down. The ultimate itself lasts a maximum of 10 seconds, with a 1 second cooldown minimum between each shot. Additionally, each shot has a 1/4 second buffer before the bullet begins transit. The channel can be prematurely ended by issuing a movement command to Jin, or if he is CC'd. The cone shape that outlines Jin's target area is viewable through Fog of War. This is important to note because a support champion like Bard is great against Jin because the Wandering Caretaker can stop Jin's Curtain Call with Tempered Fate. Another marksman like Ashe, for example, is also good because she can do the same with her enchanted crystal arrow. As Jin is completely immobilized during this ability, it is imperative to restrain from using this Curtain Call until there is a safe and sizable distance between you and any threats. So when should you use Jin's ultimate? Let's go through the most common applications of this ability. Cleaning up after the fight. When enemies are retreating and allies are chasing, Jin can open fire to kill stragglers and slow and reveal them for his teammates to follow up. The enemies are often too occupied by the threat of the encroaching allied champions to focus on dodging the bullets, so it is time to unleash. You can also poke enemy champions before a fight. This ensures you have a health advantage over the enemy in the ensuing fight. Do keep in mind, however, that if the enemy is full HP, the damage the bullets will inflict is relatively low. Threatening objective stealing. This is also useful as the % health modification to damage will apply to objectives such as Dragon and Baron, so go for those steals. Jin's ultimate can sometimes bait the opponent into overcommitting, and this is a real 5-head use of the call. Oftentimes players will see a Jin use his ultimate and interpret this as something that must be prevented at all costs in order to win the fight. This may compel them to separate from their team, miss position, and use valuable cooldowns just to prevent the call. This can be used to your advantage in certain situations, but you must always be vigilant of your surroundings to ensure you will not be picked off by an enemy assassin. Okay, so what do I buy in Jin? Well, keep in mind that critical strike and movement speed equals attack damage. So every item we build needs to have at least one of these attributes. Start off with a Doran's Blade and a health potion in lane. Some high elo players do start with boots of speed and health potions, but it's less consistent and reliable. For your boots, I would recommend buying Boots of Swiftness. Again, some Jin mains will buy Berserker Greaves for extra damage, but Jin already has a substantial amount of damage in his kit. Any more would be overkill. There's no point in having all the damage in the world if we're not alive to use it. The extra movement speed with Swifties helps you create pressure on the map, getting in range of enemy champions faster and setting up plays with your W and ultimate. Late game, when you have Storm Razor and Rapid Fire Cannon, even just getting in range of an auto attack is massive. The speed helps you reposition in fights, and the slow resistance makes it harder for you to get nuked. Remember, Jin doesn't have a dash or blink in his kit, so anything that makes us more mobile is valuable. There is so much damage in the game these days that if you are easy to catch out, you will most likely die in a split second, so staying alive is vitally important. Your first major item is either Infinity Edge or Storm Razor. If you have the gold for an IE, buy that. If you only have gold for a Storm Razor, buy that. Completely depends on how much you have in the bank, but Infinity Edge is the priority. The flat 80 AD IE offers and the critical strike is Jin's biggest power spike in terms of raw damage. Storm Razor's stats are good, 50 AD, crit and attack speed, but its passive, Energize, is what makes it deadly. Slowing enemies by 75% for half a second can make or break fights, and the magic damage from Energize attacks actually stack, so the magic damage is doubled with the Energize passive from our next item, Rapid Fire Cannon. The movement speed and the critical strike enhances Jin's AD, which is already boosted by Infinity Edge, and the sharpshooter passive offers an extra 35% range on energized auto attacks. This not only makes you safer because you don't have to be as close to enemy champions to damage them, but also more dangerous for the same reason. Our third major item is whatever we didn't buy between Infinity Edge and Storm Razor. For your last two items, it depends on the game situation and team compositions, so I'm going to recommend 6 items for you to choose from. Static Shiv. This is when you are snowballing out of control and pumping out the damage. Shiv synergizes beautifully with Storm Razor because you can slow multiple enemies multiple times in extended fights. Phantom Dancer. This is for protection. Against enemy champions, that is. PD is by far the cheapest and most cost-effective anti-burst item in the game for any AD carry. The lifeline passive shield keeps you alive and is a great answer to assassins. The critical strike and movement speed also adds a little damage. Mercurial Scimitar. Build this item if the enemy team has a ton of CC, or if you are not confident in surviving Zed's death mark. Whether you're Faker or hard stuck in Iron 4, everyone is going to get hit by skill shots. If the enemy team has a lot, the greater the chance you get cucked. Bloodthirster. This is very greedy but gives you 80 AD, same as IE, and 20% lifesteal, which complements your rune setup with Bloodline. We'll be covering those in just a second. I would only recommend building this if you are 1, Fed, and 2, Alpha AF. Guardian's Angel. So the stopwatch is great for earlier in the game, but the armor is why we choose GA. It mitigates damage from popular assassins like Kha'Zix and Rengar and gives you counterplay. Surviving for longer means you can deal damage for longer. More of Malmortius. Do not, whatever you do, buy more of Malmortius if you already have a PD. It shares the same lifeline passive and no, they do not stack. Buying this against AP assassins like Katarina and Akali, champions that have no crowd control but nuke potential, can nullify their threat. Next up we have Jin's runes. Let's smash through them. Your keystone is Fleet Footwork. The movement speed and sustain from your energized attack is very helpful. In the early game, try time your energized attack with your 3rd shot so you can gap close to the enemy and land your 4th shot to deal a heap of damage. Presence of Mind is our next choice. Jin spells are so impactful in fights, so having more mana allows you to spam your abilities and gives you and your team a greater chance of winning fights. Next we choose Bloodline. Once stacked, 20 stacks, you gain 12% lifesteal and you have more than enough sustain for the early mid game. Taking trades is beneficial because you can simply heal back up. Last in our precision tree, we can take either Coup de Grace or Cut Down. Coup de Grace amplifies our execute damage with our 4th shot, 4th bounce on our dancing grenade, and 4th round of curtain call. Take Cut Down if the enemy team has a lot of meatheads. A lot of beef is hard to get through. For your secondary tree, take Sorcery and choose Nimbus Cloak as your first option. Incredibly useful in Jin because he has no escapes, especially in the early game when he hasn't got much movement speed. Second option, take Absolute Focus. This boosts your early game so you can become the ultimate lane bully. For your minor runes, take both Adaptive Force and Armor or Magic Resist depending on your lane opponent. Mages are sometimes picked bot lane nowadays, so pay attention to those in champion selection. The standard skill order is as follows, guys. Level 1 skill Q, level 2 skill W, Q again at level 3, E at level 4. We're maxing out Q, then W, then E, and your ultimate at the earliest times available. Some games you might be invading, so skilling your W first to root enemy champions to secure kills is wise. After that, same skill order applies. I've had a lot of fun doing this guide, fam. If I ever play ADC, Jin is one of my favorite champions to play, and taking you through what makes him so special was very satisfying. If you enjoyed the guide and learned something from it, leaving a like would be sick, as would subscribing to the channel because you legit do not want to miss any of our must-watch daily uploads. Also, if you're serious about becoming the best, you have to head over to our website GameLeap.com, the only place for informative league content that will make sure you become the best player you can be. This has been Coach Eagz. Until next time, peace.